Ep.5 of our broadcast, Real Speaking and More. We apologize profusely for the late start. However, we had some technical difficulties beyond our control. But we thank you for those of you who have managed to join us. And tonight we are in for another exciting and a very educational um, broadcast as we will explore the another insightful topic with our special guest tonight. So I'm going to ask you to stay tuned. Tonight's topic is the surveyor, the valuation surveyor's role in the real estate transaction process. So our very able guests will take us through another insightful and educational tip or give us tips on his role in the real estate transaction. Thank you for joining us once again. And of course, I'm going to invite you, please, to jot down any questions you may have in the chat so that, while he's on, he can answer them, and, he will, most of the questions that we'll do tonight, for sure, will answer you will get answers to most of the questions you may have lingering in your head for a long while to come. All right, let's go right on to tonight's quote. Tonight's quote goes like this. Many people dream of building wealth, a goal that can seem harder and harder to achieve simply because of lack of action. One of the strongest wealth building vehicles over time has been the investment in real estate, not just a dwelling, but specifically in the land itself. All right. So without further ado, I'll just introduce our guest speaker, and he's none other than Mr. Ryan Taylor. He's a valuation surveyor and the owner of Task Property Appraisals Company Limited. And a little later in the chat, I will show you his contact information. So anyone who wish to contact Mr. Taylor at some point in time, you will get a chance to have his number. So without further delay, I will just hand over to Mr. Taylor, and he can tell us a little more about himself just before I start the question and answer segment with him.
Thank you for having me. I am Ryan Taylor. As you know, I am the Managing Director for Task Property Appraisals Company Limited. I am also the current President for the Association of Land Economy and Valuation Surveying. I am also a part-time lecturer at the University of Technology. I'm also a part of the disciplinary committee for valuation surveyors underneath the real estate board. I was previously the chairman of the Construction Industry Council, and I'm a loving father of one boy and a past student of St. George's College. That's a little bit about me. I've been in this industry basically all my life. My father is a valuation surveyor, and so I grew up appreciating this field. I decided to become a valuer. I wanted to be a valuer from when I was in second form, and I've grown to really love this field, and that's why I've strived to really do my best in it. to the point where I've even went on to studied in UK, got a master's, all of that, so that I can be fully equipped to offer my clients the services they require. I also did a degree in land surveying because I wanted to be so different and have that edge as it relates to understanding property because it is so unique. It is full of different areas that you trust me you don't understand, but it is an asset at the end of the day, as it was rightfully introduced a while ago. It is an asset that can benefit you in years to come, and it is a stable way of generating wealth. So that's why I loved it from that time. That's why I studied so hard to learn so much about it. I'm not done yet. I aspire to get a PhD, but hopefully I'll find the time because, of course, you know that it's very time consuming. But God is good. I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping that I will be able to dispose some of this information on you today. Right? So, I don't know if you have any questions.
Okay, so I'll go right ahead with the questions.
Right, can go into the questions, definitely.
All right. So, what are the requirements to become a valuation surveyor, Mr. Taylor?
Okay, all right. Well, currently in Jamaica, to become a valuation surveyor, you have to go to UTech, right? And study for 4 years. Now, when I went there in about 2003, 2000, it was the LEVS course, Land Economy and Valuation Surveying. It was a diploma course, but it has now morphed into a degree program, right? It is now the real estate management and it is real estate REMV we call it. It's real estate management and valuations, right? That is offered in the built environment at the University of Technology. So you study for 4 years, and then after you study for 4 years, you have to now be attached to a professional for a year, at least a year, right? The real estate board just came out with some requirements that even if you're attached for a year, you have to meet those specific requirements. It mainly has to be with like the areas in which you practicing or your supervisor makes sure that you practicing. So you have to do a certain amount of commercial valuations. You have to do a certain amount of residential and agricultural and industrial. So once you have done the 4 years at UTech, you have done your attachment and you have met the requirements from the board, then you can then join the you can then now become a valuer.
Okay.
Right. The number you have dialed is not in service. Sorry about that.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. You
Okay.
become a valuer after that. It's a
All right.
process. It's not very easy. Excuse me a second. I just making sure that this thing is not gonna shut off. But it's not a very easy process. It's a lengthy process to be frank with you, but it is a very rewarding process, I
Okay.
must say. Right.
Thank you. What exactly does a valuation surveyor do?
Sorry about that. What does a valuation surveyor do? Okay, good question. Okay, the valuation surveyor. Hold on a second for me. Just making sure that this is charged up. Sorry about that. Okay, good. Thank you. So, what does a valuation surveyor do? Well, we are land economists first, right? Remember I told you that our degree program our diploma, our program that UTech started out as a diploma, and then it morphed now into a degree, and it is now called real estate management and valuation. So initially, it was called land economy and valuation surveyors because it stands for land economy and valuation surveying. And that's even why our association is called ALEVS, which is Association of Land Economy and Valuation Surveyor, because we're economists, but we are specialized economists. We specialize in real estate. We study real estate. So a valuation surveyor is a land economist, but he's not only a land economist. He's also a researcher. He has to find data. He has to research about the property. He has to learn everything about the property. He's a researcher, right? And the valuation surveyor is also a market interpreter. He determines what will happen tomorrow based on trends, right? So a valuer incorporates all these things. He's a land economist, he's a researcher, and he's a market interpreter.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
Mm-hmm.
Why is it necessary to get a valuation report when selling a property, for example?
Well, it's important to get a valuation report when selling a property because you don't want to lose on your interest. You don't want to lose on your investment. Real estate is big money, you know. We're not talking about $500 here, right? I mean, it's a type of asset like stocks, or even you have companies that are REITs, which you can buy shares, and when you own shares into the company, you own part of what they own. So, I mean, real estate in and of itself is a form of asset, just as those are, but real estate is big money. So you have to come with like $1 million or $2 million just to purchase a property. It's a sacrifice. So you want to win. You really want to win. There's a saying that says the greater the risk, the greater return. So you want to make sure that when you invest $10 million, it's worth $10 million. And if something happens tomorrow and you need to sell this asset, you can get back your money. So it's very important that you do a valuation from inception. I can give you an example. There have been situations where I've done valuations before, and I can't arrive at the value that the price was set at, and the the vendor was willing to come down on his price because I couldn't prove that. That client saved $2 million. You get what I'm saying? So you don't want to spend, say, $35 million from the get-go when your property really can only be sold for $30 million. You'll be starting the race in the negative. You really need to start the race in the positive. And that's where the valuation surveyor comes in. He guides you because he's paid to do research. As I said to you before, he's a research officer. So it's very important that you seek the advice of a valuation surveyor before you sign a sales agreement. And I put that in there, my dear, because let me tell you, man, they generally call us afterwards. And when that happens, it can really destroy a sale.
But let me be the devil's advocate here now.
Mm-hmm.
We have scenarios in today's world wherein because the or the inventory, the real estate inventories are so low that people are bidding much higher than what the property actually values.
Mm-hmm.
And when they go to do the valuation, they realize that the property is actually valued for less. But
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because they want to win the bid, they go ahead and they make this higher offer. What if the vendor decides that, hey, this is the offer that you have made, and I am not backing down,
Mm-hmm.
because we have
Mm-hmm.
had
Mm-hmm.
incidences of that.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. What is happening is the type of market we have, right? Demand
If
is
you're in a
high,
seller's
especially
market right now.
right, right. And especially in certain sectors, it is more so high than others. Because if you're going into like a $50 million bracket, you're gonna have less purchasers there. But the reality of the situation is that we are making it worse for ourselves, because the reality of it is that, remember, a valuation is based on facts, right? So the valuer is going to put his value based on the data he receives. He can't put anything else in, right? He has to have data to back it up. Now, when he puts $20 million, but you are willing to buy it for $25 million, that now becomes data eventually, right? And then your neighbor is going to say, wait, but Tommy sell it for 25 and mine is better than Tommy. So he's going to sell his for 28. And then therefore we see property values going up. So we now become our own enemies because we are not sticking to what the data is showing. We're so desperate I mean, that's the best word I can find right now. We're so desperate to own a home that we're willing to spend more. And then eventually it just is going to have an impact on the market.
But isn't that sheer economics at play? And you said you're
Yes.
economist.
Yes, yes, that is economics. And but the thing is the appreciation is the problem, because you're doing a valuation and you're seeing a $20 million value, and next year you might be very surprised at at the sale price that you're seeing. And sometimes you start to wonder, when is it gonna change? When is all is gonna change from a seller's market to a buyer's market? But it is what it is. The market is gonna respond how it sees fit. People need homes, and so they are willing to spend a certain amount of money. But let me just give you an example here. And as I said, we're watching the market now because I believe we're in a testing period. This specific time, is a testing time, because I see one bedrooms asking prices in certain areas for $40 million. I
Oh
want
my
to see
God.
if they are going to be bought. Because if
Wow.
they do, price is going to go up and values are going to go up.
My Lord.
Yes.
No, that one is
Places like in
frightening. That
Kingston
one is
6.
frightening to me.
Yes, man. There's places in Kingston 6 right now that they're asking prices over $40 million for a one bedroom, over 900 square feet apartment. So you can imagine what a two bedroom will sell for. But it
Yes.
depends on how the market responds. If the
Mm-hmm.
market responds in a good way to this, then value is going to go up.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
just to let you know that this is happening because of COVID, though. It cost for material is pushing up price, and the developers are putting it down on the consumer. So that's really what is happening. So they're testing the market right now.
And what
Yeah.
I have realized, that this is not only a Jamaican thing, it's an international thing. When I read
Yes.
other, the jurisdictions, Canada, USA, for
Yes.
instance, they are
Yes.
having similar challenges and they're having the
Yes.
same sellers market as well too. And
Right.
they
Right.
have low inventories like us as well. All
Right.
right.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
my next question is, why is the valuation report necessary when buying a property? We just dealt with when selling, so we are dealing with when buying.
Well, you want a deal. In short order, you want to make sure that you're at least paying for the asset at the right price. I always use the analogy, it's like a race. You want to make sure you start the race right. You don't want to start the race in a negative. So you want to either be ahead of the race or at the right line within the race. So you don't want to start off in a negative. So it's very important that whether you're selling or you're buying, you get a valuation report. But let me just say this as well. The banks require it. So when you're buying a property, banks are gonna need a valuation report, because they're investing too. Please understand, they're investing too. So they need to know that when they invest, they can get back their money if you don't pay your mortgage. So you realize the bank is being smart. Before they give you $10 million, they want to make sure they can get back their $10 million. It's the same way we should be thinking when we're buying or we're selling. How much can I get? The banks, before they, which is a BOJ requirement, before they foreclose on your property, they have to do a valuation. Why? Again, because the bank don't want to lose. You understand what I'm saying? So it's the same thing with you. If you're selling a property, do a valuation. You don't want to lose. If you're buying a property, do a valuation because you don't want to lose. It, Real estate is big money. It's multi-million dollars. You need to be ahead of the game. And I think it's a culture that we have here in Jamaica, where we call the valuation surveyor when the sales agreement is signed, and then we expect the valuer just to put the sale price. No, I believe that culture needs to change. We need to understand the role of the valuer. The role of the valuer is to research and make sure that the property is priced right. And when we understand that, then we make more sound decisions, and our market will not be this chaotic. You know.
Okay, so in your estimation, you're thinking that the market is chaotic right now.
Yeah, man, it's all over the place, man. $40 million for one bedroom.
Yes, 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 yes. That's really an eye raiser. All right. So we go on to our next question. Um, why is evaluation necessary in the case of a deceased estate?
Oh, well, a valuation is required for government purposes. They charge based on the value of the property. So, I mean, I don't know the technicalities of it because I've never worked in government, to tell you the truth. I've always been in private sector. But I know it relates to the price, the government charge based on the value of the property. So it's required for that reason. For that reason.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
What other use does a valuation report serve?
Oh, it is used for security. Um, So if you want to send your children to school, and you need security, the banks will ask you for a valuation. You might need a valuation for legal matters. Um, Unfortunately, like divorce and stuff like that comes around a lot. You need valuations also for just investment advice. It helps you with investment decisions. So if you have a portfolio, you might want to know how to manage a real estate portfolio. So you may think that you want to sell this property now because the property values are not appreciating in that area that much, and you sell and you flip and all of that. So it helps in that sort of area for you to build wealth, basically. Yeah. So. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
And I often look on valuation reports, and
Right.
of course, that I have always noticed the three different types of values. So I'm going to ask them, what is a
Okay.
market? What is a market value?
Oh, well, market value is where it oh wow, that's a good question. All right. Market value is where there's an exchange of a willing buyer and a willing seller at a particular time. The time is very important. And the buyer and the seller must be willing to purchase at an arm's length, right? And the purchaser has to be knowledgeable of what they're buying. There's certain key things that makes market value market value. If somebody is tricked into purchasing a property, it's not market value, right? If I'm forced to buy this property, it is not market value, right? So there's certain criteria in it that you have to think about, but the main variables are: there's a willing buyer, there's a willing seller, right? The person purchasing have to be knowledgeable of it, and there has to be consideration, and there's a particular date. When all those criteria are met, that is determined as market value. So the thing is, it has to be marketed as well. Sorry. So if the property don't go in the greenery, it's not advertised properly, you can't necessarily say that that price is reflective of market, because it wasn't advertised properly. Everybody didn't get to see it. You know, there's a situation now where I know a agent sold a property, but she did not advertise it. And so there's an argument now, did she really get market value? No, she didn't. She cannot say it is, because she did not market it. So when we look for data, we try to assess properties that have been advertised, they show a true indication of how the market is reacting to this property, right? And then we use that as data to arrive at a market value for our property.
So it can be online, it can be print. So any of
Yeah,
that
man. Yes,
media
man.
is what
Right,
you go by. Okay.
right, right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
What is forced value?
Oh, for sale value, force value, right?
Forced
For sale
for
value.
sale value. Sorry.
Yeah, for sale value is for generally for auction purposes. The valuer will give institutions a guide as it relates to the lowest point they should go on a particular property. So yeah, generally we calculate it at 80% of the market value. Um, that's just a guide, to tell you the truth, but it depends on the market. But it's generally used for um, auctioneering, advising the institutions, you know, that don't go lower than that price, basically.
And in your what you call it, or in your experience,
Mhm.
have you seen where properties have had to go below what was the recommended for sale value?
Not once the value is done right. um, Rarely, but if the valuer is prudent and he has done a good job, generally I don't see that happening.
Okay.
Generally, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
But remember, value is human, so a valuer can make mistakes.
Right.
So right, so he can value the property wrong and make his corrections. Mhm.
Okay. So we'll get to that, Rich, a little later.
Yes, 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 yes,
All right.
yes.
What is the replacement value?
Oh, replacement value. Okay, so that really has to do with insurance purposes. If there's a structure on the site, the valuer will estimate the cost to rebuild that structure. So he analyzes price per square feet and professional fees, and then he will determine what the replacement cost will be for the property. Meaning, if it was to be put in, built brand new, basically. Please note, reinstatement and replacement is two different things, right? Reinstatement means that I am building the property, right, to its original state. Yes? So if it's gypsum tile, it's gypsum tile, you're getting back again. But replacement cost means replacing the structure with current materials, right? So if a valuer does reinstatement cost, that value may be different from replacement cost, right? Yeah.
I
So
don't
that's generally what we
recall.
should.
I don't recall seeing reinstatement costs regularly on a valuation. Is it that it's rarely done or what?
I've I've seen it before, um,
Mhm.
and I can admit that sometimes we confuse the statements,
Mhm.
and so it's very important that you understand the two
Mhm.
because they mean two different things, and so the calculations for them are different. The
Okay.
research for them are different. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All
Yes. No
right.
problem.
What are the different methodologies you employ when you're conducting a valuation?
Nice. This is what I teach at UTech. All right. So you have about five. So you have the you have a comparative approach. You have the depreciate replacement cost. You have investment method. You have the residual method, and you have the profits method. So the investment method, though, that really has two parts. You have the traditional income method, and you have the um, discounted cash flow. Now, these methods, sorry, because you have approaches, then you have methods. So the methods stem from the approaches. So the approaches is um, cost, income, and market. Under cost, income, and market, then you have all of these methods, right? The cost, you generally have the depreciated replacement cost and residual approach. Under the income, you'd have the the investment method, and of course, I just mentioned the two types of investment method. And then on the market, you'd have the comparable approach, right? So you have to know when to use when to use what. Remember when I started, I said we are research officers. Every valuation report, which is what I tell my students, every valuation report is a project. It's a research. It's a final year project. So you have to have a methodology, right? You have a problem. You're gonna solve the problem at the end of the day using a particular methodology, and that's what it is. And then at the end of the day, you have a conclusion, right? That is what the valuation surveyor does. But he does it with real estate every single day of his life to pay his bills, right? So basically, those are the methods, but each method is used at particular. It, each method is used based on the purpose of the valuation. Right now, there are instances where valuers will use more than one. So I sometimes use the comparative, depreciated replacement cost, and the traditional investment method. And these three methods will give me values. But I may rely on one more than the other depending on the purpose of the valuation. But I still want to see what the calculations bring me to so that I can have a wider understanding of in terms of what the property can generate. Yeah. So you have to know when to use what. That's the thing. And yeah, but those are the main approaches, methods, I should
All
say.
right. Just to kind of um what do you call it though? Kind of pick your brain a little more.
Mm-hmm.
So you said it depends on what it is being used for or what. then it will help to guide the methods. For example, it's a commercial valuation that you're doing. What are the methods would you use for the commercial? And the same,
Okay.
likewise, for the residential as well.
All right. So you're using you get a commercial. A client comes in, he's buying a commercial property. Okay. Now,
What are
what
the
the method?
combination of methods you would use?
Yeah, man. So the client comes in, wants a commercial valuation. Now, first thing I'm gonna ask, what's the purpose of it? Are you buying the property? Are you selling the property? He's buying, for argument's sake. Okay, fine. If somebody's buying a commercial property, he's more than likely an investor. He's not gonna live there, right? He's looking to get revenue from this in whatever way possible. So if he's an investor, it's the investment approach, which would be income, because he's looking to get an income. So first thing you look at all three. It can be cost, because cost will relate to material and stuff like that. It can be market, because he's not looking to live there. He's looking to get an income. So then now you go down the branch of income. What is under income? You have traditional income approach, and you have discounted cash flow. Now, in choosing each approach depends on the complexity of the property, right? Now, also, sorry, you have the profits approach, which is also under income. But the choice of the approach is dependent on the type of property, right? So if it's say it's just a little shop and he's looking to rent it out, you work the income approach. But if it's a plaza, which is more complex, where you have multi units and multiple incomes and multiple maintenance and multiple outgoing, you need to look at the cash flow. So that's the discounted cash flow, right? But let's just say it's a special type of property, in the sense, commercial property, in the sense where it is not the type of, you're not just buying the property, but you're buying the business on the property, like a gas station. You're not going to get a gas station and turn it into a church or turn it into a shop. You're going to buy a gas station. It's a gas station. You know you're buying the business on there as well. Then you'd work the profits approach, right? So you have to know when to use what. And it starts from the questions. From the client enters into your office, you will know the methodology that should be employed.
Okay, thank you. And for the residential, what's the approach or what's the methodology?
All right, so the ask yourself the question again. Okay, so client comes in, wants to buy the property. Um, he wants to live there. So you're not going, it's not an income, it's not a cost, it's market. You need to determine market. So you would then look what is the approach on the market, which is a comparable approach, which is basically substitution, right? This apple was sold for $10, and that apple was sold for $8, but it has a little bite on it, and I have a full apple. How much would my apple sell for? You know, that's basically it. Substitution, right? Now the thing about it is that you have to understand that when you're doing a comparable method, they need to be, you need to find comps that are most suitable, meaning as identical as possible, right? So realistically, you don't want a situation where you're you have a two-bedroom, you're valuing a two-bedroom, but you're really using three-bedroom comps. It allows for too much assumptions, right? And you only revert to that if you don't have a two-bedroom, right? So if you're doing a Caribbean estates, you're looking for two bedroom, you're looking for Caribbean estates, 2 bedroom. The only way a valuer should use a 3 bedroom is if he cannot find any sale at all, and then he has to refer to that. Right.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think we have exhausted that one as much as we possibly could. All right.
Yes.
So, my next question is, why are there variations in opinions on valuation reports from different valuers?
Okay. Again, my members hate me now. Um, okay. This is a problem that we're having right across the board. And please understand, we're humans. Valuers are humans. We can make mistakes. Okay? And we're being scrutinized now more than ever. Back in my father days in the 1990s, when I used to go around with the manual tape, nobody never know about valuation like that. Now everybody know to do valuation. So it's rough on us, to tell you the truth. But let me go back to what a statement I said before. You have to know when to use what. And properties are getting complex. And so you have to know when to use what approach. So let's just say you have a property on Mullines Road in one of those developments on Sundown Crescent. And it's a 2-story house, but it have 10 units in it. Tenement yard kind of vibe, right? A man is gonna buy it. He's not gonna buy it to live there, right? He's gonna buy it to collect rent, right? Okay. Which approach would you use? Now, some valuers might come and use the comparative approach because it's residential, right? Some valuers might come and say, oh, it's a special property, so I'm going to use cost approach. It's a unique property, so that's why he chooses to do that. And he can't find a comparable with that property because it is a 2-story, 10-bedroom house. It's not like I have one down the road. Most of those places are single-family houses. You understand? So he uses the cost approach. But the real approach to use is the income approach. Because whoever buys it is going to buy it to get an income. So really and truly, that is the approach to use. So you have to know when to use what. And Alex is trying to make sure that our members are being trained and reminded of how to work. So we've had multiple training sessions to keep everybody in line because sometimes you can get caught up and you can forget your training, but that is where it is at. Sometimes we use the wrong methods for our property. And next reason is because there's too much assumptions. And I feel like the subjectivity comes into play and you have to try and limit that as much as possible. When that comes up, you're gonna have a lot of variations. So that is a major blow as to why we have differences. And also the data is low. So like being in the business, a sale takes 6 months, right? Roughly. And when the data is low, you now need to, because when you're valuing today, you're valuing as of January 2022, but the sale happened 6 months ago that you're using as a data. And a lot can happen between 6 months. So the valuer now has to then appreciate to today's date that comparable. And my appreciation might be different from another valuer's appreciation. So you have variations again.
Yeah.
So I wish the data was a little faster like America, but that's where we're missing out.
Well, I wish you all the best where that is concerned. I think we can do much better, because
Mhm.
we have come a long way in Jamaica, and I think we can
Mhm.
do, there are things that are coming on stream, and I think, that is one area that we really need to improve on, because
Mhm.
we don't want the valuers to really get in trouble unnecessarily,
No, 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 no,
if
no.
they
But
don't have the resources to work with.
right, right, right.
All right. How does that impact the consumer if the valuer undervalues or overvalues the property?
Tremendously. It affects the buyer and the buyer tremendously because he or she has a misconception of what the true value is. We have had I've had situations, man. This is not an easy job. I've had situations where um values were done before, like five years ago for say 20 million, and then I come and I value it for 15 million.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a misconception. So the valuer know, the owner know is like, this man must be crazy. So which I am the crazy one because I come out less, right? Because he's
Yes,
expecting
but is it
an
a case?
appreciation in value.
But is it a
So
case then that the property itself, um, the condition or the state of what it was 5 years,
no,
have?
it, nothing was wrong with the property, but
Oh,
it was overvalued, and
oh,
so that's what I'm saying. It's just a misconception. Like if you undervalue, if you overvalue a property, and it comes back to responsibility of the valuer. We play a very important role in it because people believe in us and people entrust in what we say. So if you say that the value is $20 million, this man is going to run with it for the rest of his life. You understand? And he's gonna go
right.
to the bank. He's gonna feel like he has this level of equity, you know, and when he really doesn't. So it affects the buyer tremendously, and that's why I I I recommend that customers go to a valuer that is constantly trained, aligned to a professional body that enforces ethics and enforces professionalism. Because believe it or not, that every valuer is a part of Aleps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they are licensed by the board, but not everybody is a part of Aleps.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, I'm pushing for that,
Mm-hmm.
that members, every valuer will become a member of Aleps, but it has not been achieved yet. But it is a major blow. That is a major blow. Once we overvalue or undervalue, that can really set back a client.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. What advice would you give to someone oh, sorry about that. What risks does a valuer face if he undervalues or overvalues a property and it is later discovered?
Okay. If he undervalues, well, if he undervalues or overvalues, the client, first of all, client can always ask for a review. Up to now, I got that call yesterday. Mr. Taylor, think your value is low. Remember, we're humans, right? I said, okay, I will review. Not a problem. But if the client believes, right, that the valuer undervalued his property or whatever, he can report the person to real estate board. Now, real estate board has what is called a disciplinary committee, right? And you can report the valuer to the board. But as a matter of fact, I'm a part of the board. I probably mentioned that before. But you can you can do that. But I'd recommend you speak to the valuer first,
Mm-hmm.
have a conversation, and I think the board asks for that first.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you still feel like you're being mistreated, then you can go to the board, and the board will make sure that you are properly represented.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. And my final question is, what advice would you give to someone who wished to enter this field?
What advice I would give someone who wishes to enter this field? Well, it is a huge responsibility, and I'd advise that you do your research and take it seriously, because every valuation is a potential court case.
Wow.
But a valuation can come back to haunt a valuer up to 7 years.
Wow.
So you can make money. I'm not going to tell you that it is not a lucrative field, but it's a risky field,
Yes.
right? So you have to take the work seriously, get your data, look at your data. At the end of the day, a valuation is a professional's opinion based on research. So once you have the data to prove it, and you are totally fine. But take the work seriously and understand the risk it takes to produce a valuation report. And listen, let me just say this. That's why we charge what we charge, right? I mean, sometimes people
It's
look
not
at the
chicken
price and say,
feed.
no, sir, the price I man. Understand that it's a lot of work, and the risk that you take is high. So
Wow.
it's not easy after you inspect a property. You have to drive around and look at comparables and assess them, come out of your car and go and knock at the people them gate and say, how much your property did sell for? How much bedroom you have? It's not a nice thing. I'm telling you. So it's a lot of work, but understand the risks involved and respect the field, and you'll be fine.
Wow. So, Mr. Taylor, I
Yes,
can't
miss.
thank you enough
Okay.
for this very informative um, session that we have had today. You know, it really give me a more in-depth look of, you know, this field. And you know, at one point I you know, was thinking in my mind, maybe I should go and study valuations or become
Yes, man, you can, man.
a valuation surveyor. But no, you're
Yes, man.
scaring me now. When I hear the risk involved and that every valuation that is done is a potential court case, I said, no, let me stick to being a realtor. Let
Yes,
me stick to
man.
being a realtor and let you professionals assume all the other risks. Okay, I can't thank you enough again, as I said,
Yes,
for coming on
thank
and
you.
sharing with us today.
Thank
And
you for
I'm
inviting me.
sure,
Thank you.
you know, we are going to be the better for it, you know, being more literate as it relates to, you know, the different, you know, aspects of the real estate business, or the different stakeholders that has to play their role to make this, you know, business really, you know, come together as a whole. You know, I can't thank you enough again, as I said.
No
And
problem.
you know, maybe at some point we might have to call you back to come and elaborate on some other aspect of it. But
No problem.
thank you for coming. All right.
All right. No problem.
To my fellow viewers, I hope this evening's um, I hope this evening's topic, you know, was well appreciated. You know, I have learned a lot, and I'm hoping that you have learned a lot as well. And I'm gonna ask one favor of you to share this broadcast to go to the channel, to our YouTube channel, to subscribe and to make your comments in whatever area. And I'm going to, as you can see, I still have Mr. Ryan Taylor's number on screen. Make sure those of you who need to sell your property, who need to buy a property, Mr. Taylor is available to assist you in that venture. Thank you all for viewing, and do have a blessed and a good, great weekend. Bye for now.